We ignore the things that are telling us, I'm exhausted, I'm overwhelmed, I'm grieving. We ignore the signals that our bodies are giving us. And we do that in the name of discipline, in the name of consistency. And at what cost? How long are we going to keep choosing to abandon ourselves? Hey, love, welcome back to the Thrive Like a Mother podcast. Y'all, it's been a minute since I have recorded a podcast episode. It has been a minute. And today's episode, today's conversation aligns very much with the season I'm living in right now, which is honestly a little bit uncomfortable, but at the same time, surprisingly freeing in a way. So let's get into it. It was maybe a month or two ago. I was chatting with one of my friends. We were having a conversation. She's also a fellow podcaster, and we were talking about taking breaks from podcasting, right? Especially as women who are also mothers and also at the time working full-time jobs, doing all the things, having multiple responsibilities, right? And somewhere in that conversation with her, we were both reflecting. I found myself reflecting on one of the most important lessons that I feel like I have had this year. And honestly, since starting this show. And it was the advice that I shared with her in that moment of saying, like, you don't have to force an episode to come out just to make sure the momentum keeps going. And I think that is not just true for podcasting, right? It's true for motherhood. It's true for that business you're building. It's true for meal planning and meal prep. It's true for that fitness journey that you've been on. It's true in every aspect of our life because somewhere along the way in becoming an adult, so many of us were taught, myself included, that consistency is the goal. That is the goal. As long as you are consistent, you will be successful. You show up no matter what, no matter if it's raining, no matter if you're sick, no matter what, you keep going, you push through. That's what I grew up with. That is what was instilled in me. And some might call that a strength, but I want to shift the perspective here as I do on these episodes with you. And I want to change the conversation to like, what do we do when we're in a season where what really truly matters is our capacity and not the consistency? So let's really let's really get into it, y'all. Even right now, as I'm recording this podcast for y'all know usually my episodes come out on Tuesday. Tuesdays, Thrive Like a Mother Tuesday. I think at one point they used to come out a different day. It's been 3 years, y'all, for real, Time has passed. But here's the thing, right? I may have had podcast episodes ready, and this is like me now and in the past year, in this past season 5 of this podcast. Yes, there may be podcast episodes ready. Yes, the script may be ready. Yes, the recording might even be there. But when it comes to getting them ready to release, there's a lot that goes on behind that, right? There's steps that you take before you release something, before you reach that goal. Taking those steps would have sometimes pushed me past what my energy capacity was. And my body knew it. My mind knew it. My heart knew, every part of me knew. And I knew that trying to push through to getting that episode published for the sake of it being published, for the sake of it being consistent, it was not going to come from a place of overflow. It was not going to come from a place of I'm pouring out from my overflow to you guys, because that is what I want to produce with this podcast, right? Me sharing ways to thrive, me bringing on guests for you guys. This is coming from a place that I have a little bit of that extra capacity. And to be honest, These days, that capacity has shrunk. It's gotten smaller because I have picked up other responsibilities. I also have more kids than I did when I first started this podcast. And so I started to make choices when I felt that feeling, that knowing that if I'm going to put out this episode, I'm going to have to push past my energy levels, my time levels. I'm going to have to stay up late. I'm going to have to do the things. And there would have been a time in the past where I would have done that. We staying up till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning trying to release or get ready, get an episode ready to release to you guys. And so I started making a decision whenever I felt that feeling. I took a second, I paused, and I listened. I got curious and I noticed some things, right? It wasn't that I was pausing because I didn't care. It wasn't that I was pausing because I wasn't committed to the vision. I wasn't giving up. But what I was truly doing was giving myself the permission to pay attention and to respond accordingly. Not enough of us are listening and responding accordingly. We've been taught to ignore what we know in the name of consistency. We ignore the things that are telling us, I'm exhausted, I'm overwhelmed, I'm grieving. We ignore the signals that our bodies are giving us. And we do that in the name of discipline, in the name of consistency. And at what cost? How long are we going to keep choosing to abandon ourselves? It's an honest question. Especially as the older I get, I'm 34 now. Can't believe we are here yet already. But by the way, also that came up quickly. But I'm 34, and honestly, every single year that I am blessed to live on this earth, I realize more and more that having a capacity also requires us to have honesty. And it's that type of honesty where we're not judgy, we're not shaming ourselves, but we're simply kind enough to tell ourselves the truth about what we have available today, what we have available maybe right this second, to be truthful about what our bandwidth is and not try to shrink that down to please someone else, to please the goal that we maybe have set for ourselves. We have to start telling ourselves the truth about what our energy is, about what season that we're in, because capacity changes and that's normal. That's okay. The capacity I have now, y'all, being a mom of 3 is not even remotely the same as when I was a mom of 2, and definitely not the same as when I was a mama of just 1. The capacity is different. The sleep that I get is different. The amount of energy I have to pour into myself and my kids and my family is different, and that's normal. The capacity I have even within motherhood, as having 3 kids and now being in a bit of a more restful season. I say that lightly because we're getting better with Henry's sleep schedule. I will say that. But a year ago, when he was still, I wouldn't say newborn, but he still was not like sleeping through the night. Hey, even like a few months ago when he was still waking up 2, 3 times a night. My capacity during this season now, after some more than often being able to get a full night of sleep, as opposed to being up at 2, 3, 4 in the morning, it's different. It's different and it has to be. And none of those things, me being more restful now, as opposed to me not maybe getting as much rest a few months ago or so, neither of those make me less capable of accomplishing the goals that I have set for myself. But what they are indicators of what I'm able to do to take steps towards those goals. And What I've been leaning more into in this season, especially as I continue to grow my relationship with God, been in this season where I am really starting to understand that relationship. And with that comes understanding my humanity. Because what happens when we continue to be taught to ignore our capacity to ignore the signals to push through, what we're really doing is saying, I am superhuman, right? I'm a superhero. People have even said that to me, like, Ebony, how you do all the things, you're like superwoman. And I really have had to start letting go of that identity, y'all. I started to hold on to that and be like, you know what? Yeah, maybe I can do all these things. But with that came me ignoring my own signals, me trying to fill this identity of superwoman when really I am only human. When really the only person who has that type of power is God. He created us this way for a reason, y'all. He created us with the energy capacities and the signals that our body tells us. He created us this way for a reason. And so what I want to do today, especially if you're picking up the conversation here, we're throwing the word consistency out the window because I believe that we have started to confuse if we're consistent enough with if we are worthy enough. And I believe that if we stop that, if we stop believing that our consistency equates to our value, equates to our worthiness, then we stop believing that when we're not consistent, that we're failing, that we're falling behind, that we are less committed to the goal and the vision that we have set out, that we're less committed to the purpose God has put us on this earth for. And I just want to I dismantle this idea that consistency is the goal that we should be reaching for. I want to bring in not a new word, but a new perspective of maybe consistency is not the goal, but what if sustainability is the goal? What if instead of trying to stay consistent, what if we are trying to sustain what is true for us at this exact moment, at this exact point in time, so that we can continue to take steps towards our goals? So, what if today the capacity was larger and tomorrow it's smaller and that's okay? Maybe some days it's nothing, and that's still okay. And what if instead of trying to just stay consistent in the measurement of the step that you're taking, what if instead of trying to stay consistent to that, you start building a life that you can actually maintain without burning out? Because here's what I've noticed, and there's been kind of a theme on this season, especially with the guests that we have had on. A lot of them, I'm noticing we are sharing a consistent message that burnout is not the goal. Every time we decide to push past our capacity for too long, every single time, our body will start to make choices for us. Every time we keep ignoring those signals that they tell us, our body will make choices for us in the form of exhaustion, in the form of burnout, in the form of resentment. And you're wondering, why do I feel so irritable? Why is every step that I'm now taking toward this goal, why does it feel heavy? Why does it not feel joyful? And the frustration in yourself and the judgment and the shame start to set in. And then what ends up happening is you ignore that signal that told you that to pause. It becomes a lot longer of a pause because if you had listened in the first place to stop, to pause, to take a break, to maybe lower the amount of tasks that you have on your to-do list that day, then maybe you wouldn't have had to pause for so long. It would have been a shorter pause. It would have been a pause that you knew you could trust because you trusted that signal, because you trusted your body. So this week, I'm going to use meal planning as an example because right now, y'all, yes, the meal plan mentor, you are a kitchen wing woman. My meal plan feels heavy in this season, heavy as I prepare myself to host an event for women, as I prepare myself to pour and speak life into their lives. My meal plan itself is feeling a little heavy. Maybe this week it's the goals that you have set out for yourself. Maybe it's your workout routine is feeling like a lot. Those expectations that you, whatever those are, that you have placed on yourself this week, if they are feeling heavy, instead of asking yourself, how do I push through? I want you to ask yourself a different question, maybe a few questions. I want you to ask, what do I need right now? Right now. Do I need to take a break? Do I need a nap? Do I need a walk? Do I need some sunshine on my skin? Do I need to ask for support? That's a big one for me, y'all. Y'all know this. Do I maybe need to simplify the step that I'm wanting to take? Maybe that step you're wanting to take is too big. Maybe it needs to be a smaller micro step towards the goal. Maybe that's what you can handle today, and that's okay. Maybe the decision is choosing a gentler path for yourself in a season that feels heavy, that feels like you are full at capacity. Does not mean that you're quitting. It means that you are responding accordingly. I said that earlier in this episode. We get the signals, and what we've been taught is to ignore. Today, I want to talk about how we respond accordingly by asking yourself that those questions. What is it that I need right now? What is going to help me recharge? Y'all responding accordingly to your truth and your reality, your right now, with the level of care that you would like a friend. Like, if your friend was literally just absolutely crashing out on the brink of burnout because of what she had on her plate, what would you say to her? Would you tell her to push through? Would you tell her to keep going? All my fitness people out there, you have a client that's on the brink of an injury. If they keep going, would you tell them to keep going? Would you do that to yourself? And so this week, I'm asking you to love yourself, to be honest, to love yourself the way that you would that best friend, that friend that you know is on the brink of burnout. Even think of it in the context of God. He's looking down on you right now. Do you think he's asking you to write one more email, to do one more set of, lifting those weights, to run longer, to stay up later at the risk of what? I truly believe that God does not want us to meet our goals at the risk of us hurting ourselves, at the risk of us losing our minds, at the risk of us resenting maybe this purpose that He placed in our hearts. Yeah, we get there, but at the end, are we grateful that we push past all of our signals? So before we close today, I want to give you a moment to land. We're going to take 2 deep breaths in today, y'all, because that's the season I'm in right now. To be honest, this season I am on a daily being honest with myself about my capacity. The to-do list is sometimes frightful. And kind of at the beginning of this episode, right? I talked about just like getting uncomfortable, right? Getting uncomfortable and not only allowing ourselves to sit in that discomfort, but sitting it long enough that we get the chance to feel what the freedom of letting that thing go that actually can wait, what the freedom of that feels like on our hearts and our minds. So we're going to take two deep breaths today because I'm just feeling that is what I needed in this season, and maybe it's something that you need too. So deep breath in, inhale and fill your lungs. And then when you exhale, I want your exhale to be longer than that inhale. We're going to do another one. Inhale and let your exhale be longer than the inhale. My goodness, y'all. Now, our place to land, I want you to ask yourself a question. Where in my life am I forcing consistency when I actually need capacity? Don't rush that answer. There's no rush to it. In fact, it's a question you should be asking yourself on the daily, sometimes multiple times a day, if your body is giving you those signals. Because the more that we listen in to those signals, the more that we are not only trusting our truth, it gives us the opportunity to learn how to respond accordingly. Whew, notice what comes up for you when you ask that question. Believe it or not, this is round 2 of me recording this episode. Y'all know I'm always going to keep it real on here with y'all. This is round 2. The first time I recorded it, crazy enough, we're talking about capacity. My capacity was not there. The capacity was not there. I had to take a second, I had to pause and ask myself the question, right? What do I need right now to show up in the overflow for y'all? What do I need? And when you ask yourself that question about your capacity, not only notice what immediately comes up for you, but also notice where you're feeling a bit of resistance to honor your truth. Notice where you may be needing a little bit more grace than additional pressure. Because the pressure is going to come whether you like it to or not. But where can you give yourself more grace? Because sometimes, like, the next step forward is actually not taking a step at all. Sometimes it's pausing. Sometimes, like I said, it's honoring your truth, what your body is signaling you to do, your body, your mind, your heart. What are they saying that they need? So let's recap just what we chatted about today. Y'all, capacity changes, and that is a big part of our humanity. God did not put us on this earth to work like machines nonstop. And even the machines that we've built, they don't work nonstop either. They need to take breaks. They need maintenance, all the things. Treat your body as God intended us to treat it, to not ignore the signals that He made sure we had, right? Consistency is not the goal. Sustainability is the goal. What does that look like for you? I want you to understand that listening to yourself is not a weakness. It's not. It's being gentler to yourself, kinder to yourself. No judgment, no shame. Just awareness and responding accordingly. That's how we honor our capacity today and every day forward. That's how we continue to show up. All right, y'all. If this episode resonated with you like it resonated with me personally, I'd love for you to share it with another woman who you know needs the permission to slow down right now and needs the permission to listen to her truth and herself and her signals. And if you are looking for more support and building rhythms within your meal plan that actually work with your real life, then I want you to check out the resources I've linked in today's show notes because I have some free and just juicy resources for you to start practicing what we talked about on today's episode. Remember, love, you don't have to earn rest. You don't have to prove your worth by being exhausted, and you do not have to push past your humanity to be successful. God did not make us that way. He made us so that we could honor our capacity, honor our truth, and respond accordingly. And sometimes that is the most consistent thing that you can do. And so I will meet you back here next week. Remember, one intentional choice at a time.